Hi, and welcome to Amalgam Nation Presents World of Lorecraft. This week I wanted to do something a little bit different. This is not scripted, this is not officially part of the lore, it's just part of the Lorecraft series because I just wanted to get some ideas I have about the lore off my chest and share them with anybody who cares to listen. So this is my headcanon for World of Lorecraft. I've recently come up with this theory, very recently, as in just moments before the recording of this vid. Well, it's not really a vid really, but before I started to record this, I came up with this theory. What if all of the events of World of Warcraft that take place after Wrath of the Lich King, from the point where all of it begins to go downhill, the gameplay, the mechanics, the lore, everything starts to crash off the edge of this steep cliff after Wrath of the Lich King. What if all of that is in the Emerald Nightmare? Now, I don't know much about the Emerald Nightmare, to be honest. I just know that it's like the Emerald Dream, except for it's a nightmare and once you go in, you're trapped there. And the reason I think that we're trapped in the Emerald Nightmare in every expansion pack since Wrath of the Lich King is not just because, in my opinion, they're horrible expansion packs. They're not all that bad. I liked features of each and every single one of them. I just didn't enjoy them as much as I did the Burning Crusade and the Wrath of the Lich King and even vanilla World of Warcraft with all of its mistakes and problems. I was a lot better for me than what we currently have. Now, that's nothing to do with why I came up with the theory. It's just I came up with this theory because the pandas from Mists of Pandaria don't really fit in with the game. Neither do the monks. They don't completely fit in. There's no lore, well, virtually no lore on the monks for World of Warcraft. There's almost nothing there. It's like they came out of nowhere. To me, the panda monks would be a tank's nightmare because they can tank, they can DPS, they can heal, they can do it all, and they don't have to shape change to do it. They just do it. They're that overpowered, and it doesn't make sense to me. There's also the fact that if Deathwing truly was as powerful as we were led to believe, and he could destroy the entire world if we didn't stop him, how were we able to stop him? He's on his own. He's that powerful. How could somebody that powerful be stopped? My last reason for this has to do with the Warlords of Draenor expansion pack. Well, expansion, not expansion pack. At the beginning of Warlords of Draenor, I can't think of his name off the top of my head at the moment, but the dickhead that was in charge of the Horde up until the end of Mists of Pandaria fucks off through a portal through time and starts an alternate timeline, thus starts the events of Warlords of Draenor, and the entire of that expansion takes place in an alternate timeline. So, at the end of Cataclysm, the dragons gave up all their power. They became mortal. They no longer had power over time, power over life, power over magic. None of that was there. They became like your average human being, with one exception. They had a dragon form as well. So, if that is true, if that's the canon for the game World of Warcraft, not just the Warcraft universe, including books and movies, now that the Warcraft movie is coming out in June, and all that stuff, just strictly canon for the game, if it's true that dragons gave up all their power, how is it that he was able to travel back in time with the help of a dragon. That dragon shouldn't have that power, as far as I'm aware. They shouldn't be able to travel back in time. They shouldn't have been able to bring him back in time. So, what the fuck? That to me screams of this is all a nightmare. It's all a giant, big-assed what-if situation. And I don't know how we got into the Emerald Nightmare, but that's what I think it is. Because the Emerald Nightmare was canon, is canon, it's in there. Just we don't get to experience it really. So what if we've been experiencing it the entire time since Wrath of the Lich King? What if the Cataclysm wasn't Deathwing breaking up out of the core of Azeroth and nearly destroying the world? What if the Cataclysm was all the world's heroes fell into a deep slumber and entered the Emerald Dream, only to be trapped? Thus they entered the Emerald Nightmare instead of the Emerald Dream. And because they all were in the Emerald Nightmare, it shaped around them. It became a unified nightmare. It wasn't just a case of you're trapped in here and you can't do anything about it. It was a case of these are some of the most powerful heroes the world has ever known. And not just some, these are all of the most powerful heroes the world has ever known. They will fight back against a nightmare such as this. They will try to find their way out. So how do you stop them from escaping the Emerald Nightmare? You don't. You make them think it's not the Emerald Nightmare. You make them think other, more pressing things are happening. You make them think that changes are happening in the world as they knew it, and you go on and you just let them fight against nightmarish scenarios, such as Deathwing nearly destroying the world, but you at the last minute get to save the world from him, only to discover that there's an even worse thing out there. And then you stop that and there's an even worse scenario. Somebody's gone back in time and they fucked with the timeline, and you have to save your world from an alternate from an army of alternate timeline orcs who are overpowered compared to what you were at that stage before that. And you overcome that just to find out your world is being invaded by the Legion from the Burning Crusade. The Legion that got their asses handed them and got the fuck out of Dodge after you blew up their boss. Literally blew him up. So, as I said, that is how I see the lore at the moment. Plus, I have one fatal flaw with Warlords of Draenor. Thrall enters the portal with you. Later on, we split into two factions. You have the Horde and the Alliance, both fighting for the same thing, but we're not working together. So why aren't we working together? And that's not the fatal flaw. That's just a question for you. Why are the Horde and the Alliance, who claim to be working towards the same goal, not working together? Why are we still split into two factions? Why can't I, at level 100, earn reputation with one of the Horde factions, or at least learn to speak the common language of the Horde, which I think is Orcish? I'm not sure. I don't play as the Horde all that much, so I can't remember what the common language is. But why can't an Alliance character learn to speak the common language of the Horde so that we can interact with them a little bit and just say to them things that we'd like to say, like when you want to capture that tower in the Burning Crusade starting area, the PvP thing, you can just say to them, hang on, I actually don't want to fight you. I was just given a poxy quest by Gobshite over there to come and capture this tower. So how about you let me capture it? I get my quest done. I get the fuck out of here. And you can capture it after me. and we all live in peace together, and we don't have to fight together. They could even go so far as to, at level 100, you can group properly with the Horde so that they don't have to hide that it's an orc, because we have it in lore that orcs and humans work together in certain situations, dire situations normally. But the game implies that every dungeon you do is a dire situation. Now, to get back on track, the fatal problem I've spotted with Warlords of Draenor is we have Troll in the past of Draenor, which there's no fatal problem with that in and of itself. He's got the Doomhammer. Well, he's got that Warhammer of his that was given to him by Doomhammer in our timeline. And then, in the alternate timeline, you have the original Doomhammer with his hammer still. Why couldn't Troll walk up to the orcs and say, "Look, I have his hammer. You might want to listen to me. I might know a thing or two, because how did I get his hammer? He still has it. That means I'm from your future. And at some stage in the future, either he gives me the hammer out of respect, or I take the hammer by force. Either way, how fucking badass am I that I have his fucking hammer? Listen to me, people." And he could have ended the fighting straight away. It wouldn't have been a very interesting expansion. They could have done it as a patch, as part of the beginning of an expansion that would have been a lot bigger and a lot more epic. I don't know what they would have called it if they'd have gone that path, but still, it makes no sense to me that there are two Doomhammer hammers and we still had to fight all these orcs when Troll could have just talked them down, or actually beaten the ever-living shit out of them. Because at that stage, they had no shamans anymore, really. He could have just called lightning down. After all, he's Green Jesus. Like, what the fuck? I'm going to end this here before I start swearing even more and this gets more and more off track. Thank you for listening to this long rambling rant about how fucked up I think Warlords of Draenor is and how fucked up I think World of Warcraft is. As always, remember, play to game and game to play.